It's another Gettin Real with Ashleydawn, and I want to talk to you about your worth and people's inability to see that worth. Have you ever wanted someone to see how special you were, or to see like what a gift, what a blessing you were, and they just don't? It's like they're blinded, like they just don't realize how special you are. Maybe it's been a guy that you've liked, that you've been like, hey, I'm a quality chick, and you must be blind because you ain't seeing it. Or maybe it's, a college professor that just really doesn't see your value and doesn't see what a great student you are and how hard you work at, your projects and your assignments. Or maybe it's, your boss. Maybe your boss isn't seeing what an asset you are to the company, or what an asset you are to your job place, or maybe your coworkers, or maybe your friends. Maybe you are doing all kinds of stuff for your friends, and they just don't realize what a blessing of a friend you are to them, and you have been to them. Listen, I've been there. I would say 9 times out of 10, most of the people in my life, like I always talk about, there's a beauty that eyes will never see. There's depths to your soul that hearts will never feel, because they don't take the time to. I have been overlooked for jobs, for ministry positions, for relationships, for friendships, and people have overlooked my ability. People have overlooked my kindness. People have overlooked the blessing that I know that I am to their life. And I'm not saying that to be conceited. I know that I'm a blessing because God has put his love inside of me, and everywhere I go, I bring that love with me, and that is a blessing. And some people see it and appreciate it and are thankful for it, and others don't. Others ignore it, or they take it for granted, and that's fine. That's on them. But if you've ever been in a place like me to where you just feel like people don't see your worth, or people don't see your value, or maybe people don't see your identity, I want to tell you, first and foremost, you're not alone, that you are special, that you are seen, that you are celebrated, and that you are loved. That's my tagline. It's been my tagline since day one. It's been my entire focus of this ministry, Inner Beauty 101 and Inner Beauty Ministry. And anything that I put my hand to, I want people to know that they are seen, they are celebrated, and they are loved. That's number one. That's it. But with that said, I also want people to know that just because somebody doesn't see your worth doesn't mean that it's not there. Say that again for the people in the back. Just because somebody doesn't see your worth doesn't mean that it's not there. There are lots of people in the world that will tell you my hair is brown. But there are some people that'll say, no, it's auburn. It's more red than brown. It's got a lot of red undertones in it. It's really red. You look at it in the sun and it's pretty red, right? It's all in perception. My hair is red. It's auburn. It's always been auburn. The more I go out in the sun, the more red it gets. When I was in high school, it was like fire engine red in the summers because I would be at the beach, and it's red. But some people will swear up and down it's brown, and even some people will say it's black if I have gel in it. Just because they can't see what color my hair is doesn't mean that they know. Just because somebody doesn't see your value or your worth doesn't mean that it's not there. One of the things my daddy used to always say, he was an artist and he did tattoos and he would go to conventions and he would, go all over, and he was absolutely incredible. He did incredible work. People sought him out for his talent and his ability. But then there'd be people that wanted stuff for free. And he'd always say, cheap work ain't good and good work ain't cheap. And they'd say, oh, well, this person and this person and this person, this person said this or this person said this. And my daddy used to always say, and I loved it, he'd say, if somebody's got to tell you there's something, they probably ain't. So like if an artist has to tell you they're good, they probably ain't, because their art will speak for itself. If somebody has to tell you they have a good heart, they probably don't, because their heart would speak for itself. If somebody has to tell you that, they're beautiful, they're probably not, because if they were, you'd see it for yourself. If somebody has to tell you, they do nice things for people, they probably don't, because you'd be seeing it. And I try to keep that in the back of my mind, that if somebody has to say there's something, they probably ain't it. My daddy used to say that all the time. And so started saying it. If you have to tell somebody that you're something, you probably ain't that thing. And if you, in the other side of that, if you're having to tell people you're something because they're not seeing it, maybe they're not supposed to see it. You know, in the Bible it says, give me eyes to hear, or eyes to see and ears to hear. The people that are supposed to see your worth, I believe will. And the people that are supposed to know your value, I believe will. And the people that aren't, maybe they're overlooking it for a reason. Maybe God's protecting you. Maybe that's God's protection. I can tell you, oh my goodness, so many stories of people, so many jobs that I applied for that I didn't get it, that they either said that I was overqualified for, or they couldn't offer me this, or they couldn't offer me that, or maybe that I wasn't even qualified for, that they were going with another candidate. And I'm like, what? Do you see my resume? Do you see my giftings? Do you see my skill set? They didn't. That was God protecting me from a job that would have stolen my joy. So many times we have ideas in our mind and we think, well, they should see how valuable I am. They should see how special I am. Why aren't they seeing it? Well, sometimes it's for your good that they're not seeing it. Sometimes it's for your protection that they can't see how special you are. That guy that you just wish would validate you, or would tell you how special you are, or would see it. Maybe there's a reason he's not. Maybe there's a reason that, you know, God has blinded him to it. Or maybe he's blind to it himself. Maybe he just doesn't want to see it, because if he saw what an amazing woman you are, maybe that would make him have to be a better man. And maybe he doesn't want to be a better man. Maybe he's happy being who he is, where he is, and he doesn't want anything good in his life. Can happen. I don't want anybody that's watching my videos to ever feel less than, to ever feel ignored, or like you are not seen, like God doesn't see you, like people don't see you. I want you to know that you are seen, you are celebrated, and you are loved. And I want you to know that your worth cannot be determined by other people's opinion of you. Your worth was determined the moment that God thought of you enough to create you. Your worth comes from God. It doesn't come from somebody else. It doesn't come from a teacher. It doesn't come from a boss. It doesn't come from a love interest, a boyfriend, a husband, whatever. It doesn't come from people. Your worth comes from God. And maybe, just maybe, if people are having a difficulty seeing your worth, maybe they have a difficulty seeing God. I love art. I love going to art museums and art shows. And some art I look at and I'm like, I don't think that's art. But one of my favorite artists is Vincent van Gogh. Mostly because he painted a lot of sunflowers, and I love sunflowers. And there's a lot of realism in his pictures. And I like realistic art. And so when I look at a Van Gogh, I know that it's a Van Gogh. Because I've studied art, because I've studied his art. When I look at somebody, I know that they are God's child, because I've studied God's work. I know what his fingerprints look like. I know what his hands look like. So I can appreciate people a lot more because I know God. Maybe, just maybe, those people in your life that don't appreciate you the way you would like them to, maybe they just don't appreciate the artist that made you. Maybe they don't know God, and therefore they can't understand why he would create things and people as special as he has. I want you to know that your worth doesn't matter if people see it or not, that it's there, and it's always going to be there because of the artist that created you, because of the hands that formed you. You are special. You are worthy. You are enough. You need to know that today. You need to know that every day. So watch this video on repeat. You are enough. You are worthy. And if a girl can't see your worth, if a guy can't see your worth, maybe they're not supposed to. Maybe God's going to bring someone else into your life that will. I love you. More importantly, God loves you. I hope this little video blessed you. I hope it encouraged you. And I hope it points you back to Jesus, because that's my main goal of all my videos. I'll catch you in the next one.